first premise of the argument then. P of R on N and E is low. And next I want to argue this. If we accept N and E, and see that that probability is low, then we have a defeater for our belief in R, a reason to give up that belief, a reason to doubt it, a reason to be agnostic with respect to it. If R is unlikely or improbable, given the way our faculties have come to be, that's represented by N and E, then we have reason to reject or withhold R. Okay. So first, P of R on N and E is either low or inscrutable. Second, if we accept N and E, then we have, is low. I'm leaving out the inscrutable bit. So the next bit here, section 1, the doubt developed again, I'm going to omit that in the interests of time. Okay. So then the probability of R on N and E is low, and if we accept N and E, then we have a defeater for R. Now, I want to give a couple of analogies to support that second suggestion, that if we see that the probability of R on N and E is low, then we have a defeater for R. So here's the first analogy. Freud, in thinking about belief in God, famously said that belief in God is a matter of wish fulfillment. He said, we human beings find ourselves in this cold, cruel, unthinking, unfeeling world. Nature demands from us suffering and pain and anxiety, and in the end, says Freud, she demands our death. And if we looked our situation full in the face, we would find it totally depressing. We would sink into apathy. We would not be able to get along properly. We might, in fact, not be able to function at all, and might, in fact, just fall into apathy and die. So, said Freud, what actually happens is we subconsciously, and in Freud everything that's important goes on subconsciously, we subconsciously project into the heavens a heavenly Father who we say has created the world and who is really in command and who loves us. That's where theism comes from. That's how come there are lots of people who believe in God. Well, now, suppose I read Freud in an unduly receptive frame of mind. After 3 martinis, let's say, I'm sitting in front of my fireplace reading Freud, drinking martinis. All of a sudden it seems to me, right, Freud is right. That's quite right. I am a believer in God, but now I see belief in God really is a matter of wish fulfillment. It's produced by that cognitive faculty or that cognitive process, wish fulfillment. Well, then it seems to me, if I think the probability that a belief is true, given that it's produced by wish fulfillment, is low, then I have a defeater for this belief or any other belief that I take to have been produced by wish fulfillment. All right? That's one analogy. A second analogy here, it's C on the sheet about the malignant Cartesian demon. As many of you know, Descartes was thinking about the fact that there are so many different kinds of opinions swirling around in the world. It's really hard to know what to think. So he finally sat down and he said, I'm going to figure this out. What can I be really certain of? And then once I figure out what I can be really certain of, maybe I can move on from there to other beliefs. All right? So he tries various possibilities. He says, can I be certain that there's a hand in front of my face? Well, no, it's possible that I'm sound asleep, lying in bed, don't have a hand in front of my face. Often happened to me in the past that I dreamt I was out for a walk, let's say, when the fact is I was just lying in bed all the time. What can I be really certain of? He tries various things. Finally comes on mathematics, and he says, well, at least I can be certain, say, that 2 + 1 = 3 of elementary mathematical truths. And then he thinks for a minute, and his face falls. He says, no, I can't even be certain of that. Because it could be that I was created by an evil demon or an evil genius, he says, an evil demon who delights in creating creatures who think they are epistemic lords of the universe, but in fact whose beliefs are nearly all false, including their arithmetical beliefs. Couldn't that be the case? Okay. Well, now suppose I think about this again. I'm sitting in front of my fireplace drinking martinis, and again in an unduly receptive frame of mind, I think, right, there really could be such an evil genius. And I think my friend Sam was, a matter of fact, created by such an evil genius, right? Well, then I've got a defeater for any beliefs that Sam has. That is, I won't accept any belief that Sam has unless it's one I've got independent reason myself to accept. But I won't accept any belief on his say-so. Well, suppose I think a little further about this and have another martini and think, right, I guess I myself also was created by such an evil genius, an evil demon. Then I've got a defeater for R in my case. If I think also that it's very unlikely that my cognitive faculties are reliable, given that I was produced by such an evil demon. Okay, so that's another example of the same thing. Okay, now for the argument. I want to argue that it's irrational to believe N and E. Here's the argument. The probability of R on N and E is low. I'm leaving out the inscrutable part for now. If you accept N and E, then you have a defeater for R. That's what I've been arguing. If you accept N and E and see that this probability is low, then you have a defeater for R. But if you have a defeater for R, you have a defeater for any other belief B you might hold. So if you have a defeater for R, you've got a defeater for any belief you take to be produced by your cognitive faculties, and that would be all of your beliefs. You'd have a defeater for each one of them, all right? Now, one of your beliefs is N and E itself, so you have a defeater for that. So one who accepts N and E and sees that the probability of R on N and E is low has a defeater for it. One who accepts N and E has a defeater for it, a reason to doubt or be agnostic with respect to it. If this person has no independent evidence, then the rational course would be to reject belief in N and E. If he has no independent evidence, N and E will be self-defeating and hence irrational. Well, now, just one further little step here. You can get defeaters for defeaters. You might form a certain belief which is a defeater of another belief, but then get a defeater for the defeating belief. So you can have defeaters. You could also have defeaters, and so on, right? After about 3 or 4 repetitions, it gets totally uninteresting. But so you can have defeaters. Maybe in this case, the person who accepts N and E could get a defeater for this defeater. A defeater. Couldn't he, for example, go to the MIT Cognitive Laboratory and get himself tested, find out whether or not he actually is reliable, or whether his faculties are reliable, or whether, as he fears, they are unreliable? And if they gave him a clean bill of health, a clean bill of cognitive reliability, we might say, then wouldn't he have a defeater? Well, I don't think that can work out, because, of course, he would be accepting this as a defeater, he would be presupposing that his cognitive faculties were reliable.